You've seen me engaged in other disciplines, especially over the last few weeks, of wearing hats and getting all kinds of questions. Which hat is the most appropriate one to be wearing at the church? It's respectful or disrespectful. Why am I wearing them anyway? And what would happen if I went out the door without one? Nobody asked me that but me. It's a practice that I've adopted in the last few months after realizing that I felt different when I wore a hat when worshiping with my Jewish friends. That I was reminded of being part of something bigger. And so now I do it. Not to claim that I'm a Jew, but to claim that I am small. And yet that my voice must be heard. Similarly, I've adapted the custom of saying Jewish prayers before washing my hands and of touching the doorpost and saying a prayer on my way in and out the door, and I'm probably slaughtering the Hebrew. But I notice when I don't do these things, something feels a little different. Perhaps it's my obsessive-compulsive side, but I find myself more mindful when I do these things, and missing them when I don't. Perhaps you have things like this in your own life. Little rituals, routines that you get into, things you do every day, maybe before you go to bed, maybe before you eat a meal, maybe even coming to Fountain Street Church at Advent is part of that for you. Maybe the words that are said and the songs that are sung are so important that if they changed, not only would you miss them, you'd think, this is not Advent. Something is wrong. At least that's been my experience in the times that I've tried to change things at Advent at Fountain Street Church. So just my humble opinion. Our faithfulness to rituals can become a weight around our neck. Our faithfulness to what we aspire to in our lives, in our relationships, can become something that we beat ourselves up with when we fall short. But what if we could cultivate the capacity to laugh at ourselves? What if we could cultivate the capacity to receive the humans across the table or the globe or the boardroom table or kitchen table from us with compassion? The possibility of saying, you better write that down. Nobody's going to believe you said that. Instead of, I can't believe you said that. What are you faithful to in that way? And how can you cultivate that kind of faithfulness in this Advent season? Like those Advent calendars where each door you open a little hole or little page, and instead of reaching in to get some chocolate, which was always my favorite part, what if inside of that is something calling you to deeper faithfulness? Faith calling us on. What if you could adopt a discipline this Advent season, a practice that reminded you of your best self? Not so you could become ashamed when you fall short, but so you could be reminded that it's there. We hear of faithfulness in the scriptures that were shared in this morning's reading. We hear of God's faithfulness, of Muhammad's faithfulness, of Mary's faithfulness, of Jesus' faithfulness. And then there's a section that I didn't share from one of the epistles in 1 Corinthians that says, I give thanks to my God always for you. I give thanks to my God always for you, because of the grace of God that has been given you. For in every way you have been enriched in Jesus, in speech and knowledge of every kind, just as the testimony of Christ has been strengthened among you, so that you are not lacking in any spiritual gift as you wait for the revealing of Jesus. You are not lacking in any spiritual gift as you wait for the revealing. That's an Advent message, friends. You've already got it. What you're waiting to be revealed is already in you. The gifts that you're waiting to receive are already there. Maybe they're going to take a little bit of discipline to help you uncover them, to help you remember them. Maybe they're going to take some confession of your shortcomings. Maybe they're going to take some accepting of the confession of those around you. But you are not lacking in any of the gifts as you wait for the revelation. And another piece of the reading that didn't make it into our readings this morning, but is from the Quran, from the same surah. Later on, the writer says, "O people of the Scripture, why do you dispute about Abraham and whether he was a Jew or a Christian, while the Torah and the Gospel were not sent down but long after him? Don't you understand? You are those who have disputed about that which you have no knowledge. Why then do you dispute about that which you do not know? Allah knows, and you do not." So often when we speak of faith, we end up talking about what we believe, and then you get into arguments about what's right belief and what's wrong belief. I saw a Facebook post yesterday from a friend who said, "I was asked in Walmart checkout if I was a believer." And they said, "Well, it depends on what you mean." Right? But why argue about it? Why not live it? Why not live it with how you are every day in every relationship? Keep awake and practice, says the gospel. Keep awake. That is what faithfulness is about. It's about things that help our drowsing eyes to snap open. Things that help our wandering minds to focus. Things that help our weary bodies become reinvigorated and recommitted to the path. Keep awake. In this way, keeping the faith is not about holding on to it. It's not about protecting or guarding it. It's not about making sure your beliefs don't change or your practices don't change or your communities don't change. Rather, it's about a grateful alertness, a grateful awakening to the meaning in our lives and to the meaning of our lives. It's not about arguing about truth. It's not about knowing. It's about releasing, looking for signs, listening, and letting go. So if you were going to adopt a discipline this Advent, among the 4 we've talked about, and it was a while ago, so I'm going to remind you, we talked about 4 disciplines of liberal religion. Worship. Anybody dare to help me out? I remember them, but worship? Huh? Education. Learning. Worship, study. Another S? Service. Service, yes. And